We know financial literacy is really, really, really important. But when you think about financial literacy, you might not be thinking about insurance, or you might not be thinking about it often enough. And I would say I'm part of the problem because I don't talk about insurance all that much. It is rare. Jessica Baker is going to help correct that. She is the executive vice president of retail wealth at Cooperators. And we're going to talk about what some of the knowledge gaps are when it comes to insurance. She joins us from Cambridge, Ontario. Hello there.
Hi, it's great to be here today.
Now, here's my thing about insurance. Of all of the topics of personal finance, insurance and tax are the two that I have the hardest time engaging on because often I think they are so boring. Why do you think there is a gap in financial literacy around insurance specifically?
Mm. Well, I really appreciate that question, and I would say that your view, potentially as a client, is not unique. I don't think people jump up and down with excitement to talk about insurance and taxation, but that's part of the problem when we talk about holistic financial literacy in our industry or for Canadians at large. Insurance is a very important mechanism to protect other financial products that you have. I think some of the reason why we don't talk about it as much is it's not well understood. And so people don't like to talk about things they don't understand. It's not a very exciting topic. And now on social media, we have a lot of influencers in the space of financial services and financial literacy. But again, insurance is a regulated product, it's kind of complicated. And if it's not well understood, then we don't have a lot of influencers or content in that space. So
Yeah.
it's really incumbent on the industry to advocate for financial
Yeah.
literacy.
There's also like a perennial nature to these messages because I find that I get lulled into the belief that people know this stuff. So I was having a conversation with a friend of mine whose kid is now a teenager, and I was like, blah, 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 term life insurance. You might want to just go and renew before whatever. And she's like, what do you mean? And I realized she had never had term life insurance. And her kid, as I say, in their teens. So how much of that is inertia of the inertia is we just expect people are going to like, you got a kid, you got to have term life. It goes without saying. But for a lot of people, it does not go without saying.
That's a very common scenario that I hear what you've described, that dialogue you had with your acquaintance. We don't talk about financial literacy in all levels of education in Canada. And it's only now in recent times that there is financial literacy or finance programs in college and maybe in high school or in middle school. Kids don't learn a lot about what insurance is and why you need it. And until you drive and need to be legally covered on the road for that moving vehicle, or maybe until you buy a house and have to have fire insurance so you can get a mortgage, that may be your first interaction with insurance. And so there's a knowledge gap there. Basically, for a Canadian of any age, any demographic, any life stage, I would say if you have a life stage or there's a change to it, there's a need to update and review your insurance of all kinds.
Another point of skepticism for me is outside of the categories you mentioned where you have to have it. You can't drive a car without insurance. You need insurance to have a mortgage. There are other ones like term life where it's not required. And there's a view out there about having the difference between insurance to protect against a calamity and insurance that kind of helps you if you've got a problem. And the example that I'll use is like those extended protection programs from on technology that cost a gazillion dollars and make very little sense. So how do consumers walk the line between you got to have it and that's not about calamity. You don't necessarily need that.
Right. Fair question. And I think we have to help demystify this for clients and consumers. Auto and home or tenant, that type of indemnity that insures your stuff, that will make you whole again if the bad thing happens. If the car is damaged, if the house floods, we will make you whole again. Not better, not worse. I think the challenge with life insurance or other types of individual insurance protection is you're not going to be the beneficiary of the
Mm,
proceeds of that policy. So,
right.
so what am I actually protecting? Well, some of the scenarios I would talk about would be, okay, we've protected your home. So if it, goodness gracious, I hope it doesn't happen. But if you have a fire, if you have a flood, we'll make you whole again. But what if you lose the power to earn income? What if something happens to you prematurely for your health or your life, and the family members that you have left behind don't have anything to live on? The house is there, but the bills still come, the university tuition still needs to be paid, the hockey camp is still there for the kids. And so, what life insurance does and other financial services products do is help the people who are left behind,
Mm.
whether you love someone or whether you might owe some money in the event that something happens. That's what the power of life insurance does. And many Canadians think, well, I don't need it. Why would I pay that premium? The other reason why these products are so important is from a savings perspective. If the bad thing happens to your car or your house or your stuff, and you don't have the right insurance coverage, you might have to dip in to other savings in order to make yourself whole. And that's taking you off the path and the strategy that you had for the other things that are important to you, saving for a house, trip, retirement, whatever. And so insurance is important so that you don't have any financial calamities after something happens to you, someone you love, your ability to earn income, or your stuff. It's part of a comprehensive financial plan.
What more does the industry need to do on the claims front? And I ask because you hear so many anecdotes about people who thought they were fully insured, properly insured, they have a claim, and then they get hit by some hurdle, or the claim takes forever, or lawyers get involved. And then you've got what happened to me. I had a claim, a tree fell on my little cottage, it was a disaster, and the insurance company was amazing. And they did all the things, and it like worked as like kind of the storybook version of insurance, but my experience isn't universal.
Mm. That is a really good question. And I think the industry, and when I say the industry, I'm talking about particularly from a sales standpoint. I've always viewed our obligation as the licensed insurance professional to explain to you, the client, here's what might happen to you. Here's the things you're covered for. Here's the things you're not. And here's what may happen in the event of a claim. And then you, as the client, get to decide how much coverage I want and how much coverage I can afford every month, not just the first month, but every month. So we have an obligation to educate our clients. We also have an obligation to have regular touch points, reach out to our clients to review, to make sure if they have any changes in their life circumstance, we're keeping the lines of communication open, and have fair documentation and renewal information so that you as a client can look at those policies and understand, oh, hey, I get what this is. On the client side, I think you do have some action items or takeaways. If I could ask anyone to have a call to action who's listening,
Mhm.
how many people who are listening today maybe get an insurance document over email or an online portal in the mail and file it without really reviewing those documents?
Would you
Even if
say
you don't,
98% of people, or like 99? Which do you think?
uh,
I don't know.
I'm a little more generous than you, but I'm
Mm.
going to say many people don't take action. My call to action is, hey, don't worry about opening it. Don't worry about understanding it. Call your advisor, call your insurance professional and say, look, I got my renewal. It's probably time to talk. And that's as simple as it needs to be to help build that plan.
One last question before we go. If I were selling insurance, I would want everybody to have all the things and I'd want them to have the gold plated coverage. But if I was selling insurance and I had a cash strapped best friend who I needed to like help them find the cost benefit balance that was going to fit their life, how would you help that individual think about maybe it's not gold plated, maybe it's bronze?
Fair question and really important. We all have a budget. Whether your budget is peanut butter and jelly or filet mignon, we
Mm.
all have a budget, and the insurance products and the bundle we put together has to work. I like to talk to my clients about insuring the most potentially damaging or catastrophic thing first. So, yes, you need a car to be legal. Yes, you need a home policy to have a mortgage. But then I would ask them to think about what would be the worst financial outcome that might happen. So, if the primary earner in the household lost their ability to work, or if something happened and you needed a nest egg, uh, cover those needs first. But the most important action is to get the advice from a financial advisor who can give you that customized plan. But because, my life stage or what I think is important might not be important to the client. But everyone can get products and coverage for any budget. The most important thing is to talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about.
Talk, talk, talk. Well, you know what you're talking about. And I appreciate that you joined us today to talk about it. Thanks so much for being here, Jessica.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Jessica Baker is Executive Vice President of Retail Wealth at Cooperators. She joined us to make the case for why we need to include insurance when we're talking about financial literacy.